Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat 5 segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. What is up? Welcome back to Drummers on Drumming, a podcast powered by Big Fat Snare Drum. My name is Ben Hilzinger, and I'm back with another installment of The Drum Panel. This week, we've got 2 amazing people. I know I say it every week, but I mean it every time. Jessica Bordeaux and George Martinez. They're 2 people that I can be completely myself around, and I think this conversation showcases that. So thanks for listening, and if you want to know what we talk about before you listen, just look at the show notes. I just don't want to list them all here. But I love you, and did that sound negative? I don't not want to explain it, but it's easier for everyone. I'm going to head out. Bye. This is kind of an ambiguous question for a reason, because I don't even know what I mean by it. I'll start with you, Jessica. What is your current relationship with drums?
My current relationship with drums, if we're going Facebook terms, it's complicated. Okay.
Same, by the way.
No, it actually, right now, I am going through a period of feeling really motivated and excited to play my drums. And especially, I just came off a tour that was, we had such a great time, and it just made me want to sit with those songs more and like iron them out further and come back and kind of start watching drum videos again and getting inspired to learn new licks. And so that's where I'm currently at. I feel really excited about the drums and about music, and when that comes, you definitely want to ride that wave.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, George?
What's interesting about me is that I feel like my relationship with drums is such a different season of life, because I don't really do drums per se professionally anymore. When I was in the studio for 15, 16 years, that's what I did, and so it's weird. Now I've kind of turned into, in my old age, I've turned into the teacher instead of the performer. And it's weird, because there's a part of me that like misses the chaos of being on a tour or backline or going into a studio not knowing what the songs are and having to come up with songs on the spot. And I miss all that chaos, and nowadays it's a little bit more chill, and I'm just kind of like developing these younger drummers with my students and stuff, and it's also very fulfilling. It's a different type of fulfillment, but it's weird. Like, I'll teach them stuff, and like, I lead a band and stuff, like at the church and stuff, and I'm always hearing what the drummers are doing, the decisions that they're making, and I'll stop. I'm like, hey, that was an interesting fill in the end of 4, and they're like, how did you hear that? I'm like, well, I was 15 years old one day, and I thought that was going to be a really cool fill.
It's a sickness. That's why I heard it. It's because I'm very sick.
I have problems, yeah. But what's interesting is that some of these students that I kind of bring up with my teaching and stuff, they kind of respect what I say sometimes. They're just like, well, what would you do? And I'm like, oh, I thought, listen, do what you're going to do, man, whatever. He's like, no, what would you do? And then they try, and they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. It goes with the vocal. I'm like, yeah, it kind of does. So it's just, I'm in this kind of like wise man, like, oh, hey, there's the legend of George. Like, hey, how can you teach me type of thing? It's weird. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you grapple with letting that, like, there's a term that Max from Eve 6 says, sometimes you have to let your friends have the dignity of making their own mistakes. Do you almost, like, you don't want to give too much wisdom because they need to figure that stuff out for themselves, or?
100%. I mean, that's how I learned, you know. I didn't ever really take private lessons and stuff like that. I was in band, you know, like orchestra and jazz band and marching band, all that stuff. And you know, I would make decisions, and you know, usually the band director would be like, try something else. I'm like, and for me it'd be like, why? I thought that was super cool. It was like 1,000 notes in like one bar. Hello, you know, haven't you heard Metallica? Like, come on, you know.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but I also had to listen. And so what I usually tell them before I like approach their drumming, I go, you know what you should do? Listen to these records, listen to these drummers, and just get a feel for like, oh, why did they choose that? Like, why did they choose that instead of what I think would be cool? And then listen to how that all fits in, and then do with that what you will. And a lot of times they come back, I'm like, dude, I was listening to that guy. I love the way he builds into choruses. Oh yeah, like what? And then they start incorporating it by themselves without me going, hey, that sucked. You should do, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing.
Well, the reason I ask is because I've been feeling it for a while. And last night it was made apparent to me where I was, you know, perusing YouTube, and there was this Steve Gould, Nate Smith discussion with Corey Wong where they're talking about how to compose music for the drum set as like a solo drum set. And I remember clicking on it, and I love Steve. I don't know Nate, but I clicked on it and I was like, wait, I don't actually give a shit. But I felt like I needed to be like, oh, this is a video I should watch. I should really want to know about what and I ended up watching half of it, and it was beautiful. But I guess I've been realizing that I've never been more excited about music and crafting the right part for a song and playing the right part for the song live. But I'm at like an all-time low of my obsession with drumming. Does that make sense? And I'm kind of in this like, should I feel guilty about that? Or is that just the next step for me as a musician? Do you guys ever have days or months or years where you're like, I don't really care about being this drummer presence, but you're almost forced to because you guys have an influencer personality online?
Yeah. Like I said, currently I'm in that mode where I'm really excited about being a drummer, learning all this new stuff, but definitely that based on so many different factors in life, that motivation to be searching up drum videos and learning from the greats and doing all that, like that ebbs and flows. And I definitely think there are times where there will be a couple days where I don't drum as much as I wanted to, or maybe don't get to it all, and I'm like beating myself up because I didn't do my practice pad warm-ups, and I always am kind of like, it's this thing that always exists in the back of my head. Drumming specifically, it's funny because you said, you care about music, you're really inspired by music right now, but it's just not necessarily hardcore drums and focusing on that only. I think more so in the past for me, that was a thing where I was just so feeling like I had to have some type of growth every day, every week on the drums, some new thing I learned, and over time you find out that it's not always sustainable. And I've learned to try and focus on the fact that over the years I've made a lot of progress. There are periods of time where I put lots and lots of time into learning things on the drums specifically, but at the end of the day, just like you said for yourself, I love playing drums to music. I love playing with my bandmates. I'm excited to be where I'm at because of those periods of time that I like dove in head first and absorbed everything I could. And it's okay if that's not all the time, but right now I'm kind of living in this moment of the ebb and flow of those periods coming and going have allowed me now to be like, okay, like I can just kind of have fun playing these shows and have fun working on these records and not have to feel guilty as much for not making sure I can play my single strokes at a certain BPM, or like just focusing more on what was the point of all that, like watching all these drum videos and doing all these drum things. It's like, it's because I like music and I want to play music. It doesn't always have to be so technical and getting in your head about that.
What about you, George? I mean, I know it wasn't a question, it was me just rambling, but do you have a response?
No. That's a classic Ben. Like, what are we
just
doing?
Interrupt me eventually,
Shut up,
please.
Ben.
Seriously, that's what the podcast should be called. Shut up, Ben.
Shut up, Ben. I'd wear that shirt.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Ben, I totally understand what you're like. It's weird because like, oh, the influencer front. I totally get that. Like, totally get that because like, all of my friends are like, oh wait, it's Skinny George, watch out. I'm like, oh guys, come on, cut. You know what I mean? Like, come on, what's in the? I'm like, I get it. But you know, when I record my content, it's kind of an overflow of the obsession of the drumming that you were talking about. I don't like wake up and go and like brainstorm and like, okay, you know, I do sometimes think about content and all that, but really I'll be listening to a bunch of records and get so fired up that I have to record content. I have to pick up sticks. So if all I can do right now is play on practice pads and help people with their technique and whatever, or do goofy things, that's because I've spent hours of listening and filling up that tank of reminding myself, why did I even start doing this in the first place? You know, what drew me into drums? And it's that feeling when you hear a really good drummer on the track and they do that one thing that makes you do that stank face. You're like, oh, that's so good. Why can't I be that good? And now I have to go practice, you know? So a lot of times the content that people see is because I was just fired up from listening to some of my favorite drummers or favorite drum moments, and I couldn't help but get up and like pick up sticks and do something about it, you know?
How do you guys make sure that you're, I guess, ready for when it comes back? And what I mean by that is because as we get older, more stuff piles up, more responsibilities, more life. And my answer to it is that I'm very picky on who I work with, what I'm working on, because that little nugget of passion, it does diminish. At least, I guess, maybe it doesn't for you guys, but for me, I feel like it has. I'm not the little kid, the 10-year-old, every day just listening to records and pretending I'm a rock star. But when it's there, it's just as powerful as it's always been. And I'm very precious with making sure that that's there. And so I don't overextend myself or do things I don't want to do with the drums because I'm so scared of losing it. But do you guys have any ways that you keep that sacred, or are there any non-negotiables for you?
For me, at this stage of my life, I've got kids. I've got a lot of responsibilities. Like when you said 7 o'clock, I'm like, okay, cool. I told my kids, I'm like, you're going to bed right now. Like, let's go.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate you doing that.
Of course. And they're excited for me too. They're like, you're on a podcast? Can we watch? I'm like, no, you're going to bed. Bye. You know? What's funny is last week, for instance, my wife and my daughter, they went on a trip, and I was alone here with my son, and we were just, we were hanging out. We did some stuff, but like, I had every possible opportunity, honestly, to like record and like just create all this content, to just like schedule it out and be ahead of the game and the whole thing. Jessica, I know you know what I'm talking about. Like the algorithm never stops, So it's like I had so much potential to record so much content, and every time that I thought about recording content, I just like I'm right now my son needs Dad George to be here. I mean, not Skinny George. He just needs his dad to be around and play video games and build some Legos and whatever, and so sometimes, it's a kind of non-negotiable for myself, where it's just like, I really want to record content, but what's really the wisest thing to do in this moment right now? And I think my son enjoyed the crap out of last week. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I could have recorded so much content, but at one point, something's got to give. What am I really first? At first, I'm a dad first, no matter what. And then if I can get some content snuck in there, cool. And I did. I will leave it while he was like unconscious and sleeping. Great. I recorded some stuff, but sometimes you just have to sit there and realistically look at where you're at and be like, okay, can I say yes to this? Am I going to get that same feeling right now? Or am I really trying to force it and I'm not going to get that same inspirational feeling because I'm just saying yes for the sake of saying yes, instead of really thinking about where I am mentally, physically? Am I really going to give 100% of this if I say yes to it? If I can't say yes, then I'm going to be like, you know what? For the sake of the project, I'm probably not the right guy. So have somebody else promote the product or do something, because right now my headspace is somewhere else. And it works for both parties, not only for myself, but also for the person that I'm working with or had the potential to work with.
Yeah, because then you learn to resent the drums. Then
Right.
it becomes, it's not an escape. It's this thing that you're like, I wish I didn't have that in my life.
Right.
I think especially of course, content is always something that can become a stressor now, rather than, oh, I really want to be playing the drums, versus, "Oh, I haven't made a video in a week." And,
Yeah.
if it's funny, it's like, you miss a week or something of posting and it feels like time stops, when in reality, like, I don't think anyone noticed. And, when I'm ready to post again, I'll post, but it could definitely make, as far as like how to preserve that joy and select how you want to spend your time with music and with the drums, I definitely think I've had to practice. Because, right, there was a time where we say yes to every single thing and we're constantly playing and nonstop. And now, as I get older, there is that sense of, you need to have that work-life balance. And it's a little bit harder when you don't have a traditional 9 to 5 to think of it as, when I get home, I turn it off, because it'll be 9 o'clock at night and I'm like, what am I going to record tomorrow? Or what, or like, oh, I need to go pull my practice pad out because I have that thing. And so learning to kind of carve time to allow yourself to think about things other than music. But also, I really am in a place where I have a balance I've never had before of, I'm being creative with people I care about, and I have groups that I'm really proud to be a part of and get to have those moments, and then also have this kind of influencer side where I'm able to decide what videos I'm going to make or who I'm going to collaborate with or whatever. And so I think I've gotten to a point now where, I've learned to not feel like I, have to fill every space with the drums. It's okay to like take a step back and, enjoy life. And then when I am playing, it's like things that make me feel good and with people that, I really like to create with. So
Yeah, I'm sure that like when you do decide to like put the content on hold for 1 second and enjoy life, like you were saying, when you do come back around to the content, you feel better doing it.
yeah.
That's where the balance really, you start, at first you're thinking like, I'm stepping away for a second. That doesn't feel very balanced to me. But then when you come right back after that, you go, oh, this feels lighter almost. This feels like it's not as a heavy burden or anything like that. It just feels like I can, all right, hey, let's do this, and it feels a lot better after you've enjoyed life and done some other stuff. It makes total sense.
Well, speaking of content, we'll just go down this road. I was talking to Matt about it last week where, you have to have something that's sustainable. Because, I do the podcast. I'm also a content creator. I don't focus on the visual stuff that you guys do, but I do have an audience that I'm consistent for. But I've also been aware that the Big Fat 5 format, especially with how busy I'm going to be with the touring coming up, that was not sustainable for me to have a new episode of a drummer I don't know every week. And also kind of going in line with what I was talking about with caring less about drums and talking more about the creative life and music, because I've never been more inspired. I've basically all but nixed Big Fat 5 unless it's someone that I really want to talk to. And that might have affected listenership, but the drum panel, I look forward to these conversations so much more than Big Fat 5. Even though I get to talk and I've now become friendly with some of my favorite drummers, and it's such an awesome thing that happened in my life. But my question is, how do you guys dictate what content you guys produce? Is it like at this point, since you guys are so seasoned with it, you're just like, I'm doing what I want to do, whether if you want to stay or not, that doesn't matter to me, which is kind of what I'm at. I've been worried, like I rarely even talk to like a new drummer. It's like my same group of like 15 friends talking about mental health. It's like, was that even a thing? Because that's not what the podcast was at the beginning, but it's become something that I enjoy putting out, that I'm proud of. And I with some of the responses I get, I think there's at least enough people that also like kind of the switch of the lanes I've made. But yeah, what's your relationship with the audience and what you decide to put out and all that jazz?
This might be a hot take, okay? I don't know, but
you're like, I hate the direction you're taking the podcast, Ben.
I think those were all mistakes. No, just kidding.
Yeah, well, hey.
No. Man, and again, maybe it's because I never sought out to be some influencer. Like I didn't like wake up one day and go, you know what, today's the day. I'm going to put my influencer hat on and turn on the camera. Like, hey, like no. It started very organically because it was 2020, everything shut down, and I just like, oh, you know what can I do, And so here's the way I've always viewed content. This is gonna sound really bad, and I don't mean it in a.
Oh damn!
No,
Yeah. Got something to say about a drum content creator?
Exactly. They're all the same.
I could easily say one thing. They can use that soundbite, and that's it. My career's ruined. No, but like, I've never recorded content for other people, if that makes any sense.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Well, I guess like people would always ask me like, "Oh, are you always thinking about these guys or these drumline guys or whatever?" And it's just like, no, man, it's not that deep. Like, I didn't play drums for a long time, and in 2020, I realized that like this might be an opportunity for me to document me retraining my hands and getting back that muscle memory and reminding myself of why I love drums and like. So I put the camera up and I'm just like, I'm gonna document all the exercises that I ever learned and that's all I did. And then people just started jumping on board. I'm like, who are you? Why are you following me? Whoa, and it just kept on growing. And that's what I do. I set up the camera, set up the lights, the whole thing, and I just decide today I'm gonna work on one of my weaknesses and I'm gonna make up 5 or 6 exercises around that so it can help me. I wanna be able to keep doing this until I'm 90 years old. So what will help me? And let's record that. And it's been a journey for myself, and I'm just kind of documenting that journey and putting it out there. And so I guess that helps me record content and take some of the pressure off. Obviously, if there's a brand that wants to work with me and all of that, that's different. I'm making that content specifically with the brand and all that. Mm-hmm. But the majority of my content is really just, it's a solo journey of my drumming and how I want to continue to develop it so that way I can keep doing this for the rest of my life.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Now at McDonald's, a McDouble is $2.50, so you can get your gym gains on. Or just get lunch for only $2.50. Get more value on the under $3 menu.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Was there a drummer that started following you that you were like, okay, this is crazy now?
Oh my gosh. Well, Jess is one of them, that's for sure.
Okay.
I was like,
oh, man.
I'm like, wait a second.
She's like, damn it, I unfollowed him a few months ago.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, this is all good.
Let's go make sure to follow him.
It's like, hold on a second. Yeah. Love your content. No,
it's a glitch, I think.
That's amazing. Thank you, George.
Of course. But I remember, Jessica, like, I started following you first on TikTok. And I just remember going like, dude, she's beating the crap out of the drums. Like especially when you do all those linear like tom things. I'm like, oh my, that poor Ludwig. Oh my gosh, And so that like there's been a lot. I mean, like Juan Carlito Mendoza. The fact that I'm having conversations with Carter McLean. Like it's just like, like how can these people be this accessible? And why are they following some guy who's literally not playing for anybody except in a garage with a practice pad? And it's not about any of that. It's not about the accolades. It's just they see something, they think, I don't know, they just see someone doing something that they like and they started following me. And for me, on the other hand, I'm like totally fanboying. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot. I have to look through my list and be like, this guy, so many different people.
Well, I can say that it was nice to get to know you because you're just as positive. And I mean, I was going through some tough times at the beginning of the year with the gig that I, didn't, and you were very supportive and you text me and stuff. Like, you're just as, like, the persona that you put on, it is authentically you. You're just really that nice, positive dude. I'm
so sorry, but yes, that is me.
Unfortunately, yeah, dude. Yeah, what about you, Jessica?
As far as like, sorry, I want to make sure I'm answering the
totally. I know we went on so many. How do you decide what's your relationship with what content? And like, you're like, well, I need to have the algorithm, or you just like, I'm going to be Jessica today.
It used to be way more about guessing what people wanted to see in my earlier days. And then at some point, I feel like Instagram changed, the online, just everything just changed. The algorithm changed, and it felt like you could do the popular song covers. You could do the crazy impressive licks and whatever, and it just, engagement changed, everything was different, and it started to make me feel personally like burnt out, because you're constantly trying to come up with what you think people are wanting to see, and that's really hard when you're just guessing and you're wrong a lot of the time.
Oh gosh.
Or you're right and just Instagram decides not to push that video and you otherwise would be right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always just on you.
Absolutely. Like, when you're doing things you always did that worked, and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. And I think that shift coupled with starting to do more drumming out in the world, like I started gigging more, touring more, that helped inform my content decisions more too, because I was able to start saying like, I'm still going to do covers and things, but my content strategy now is way more like, I'm practicing, very similar to what George was saying, like I'm practicing this thing one way or another, like whether people get to see it or not, this is what I'm working on today. So why not record this and put it out there for people to see? Because that's always been part of my content structure anyway. Like, in addition to covers and grooves and things, I always was showing what I was practicing. And I like that because it doesn't matter if it gets 1 view or 1 million views, like it helped me grow. And it's always good to record yourself and see what you sound like. So that feels good to me. And I do a lot more of that now, because then it doesn't even matter what the engagement, I try not to think about that anymore. It's like, I'm just going to post what is something that feels good to me and is something that's authentic to like what I'm actually working on, and whatever happens. And then also coupled with like posting footage from shows or like things that I'm doing or things that I might be promoting or whatever. So it's kind of, I've struck a balance of doing more things that feel less forced in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really helped me feel better about just content in general, because it takes the guesswork out of it. It's like, this is what I'm doing, and you're still always planning and trying to come up with new ideas and stuff. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, that approach has been really good for me.
I feel the same way. I wish that I was just doing my thing and the podcast got popular like George's story, but I think I was more in line with you, Jessica, which is that at the beginning I really was focused on what do people want to hear. Right. And it was fun. Sometimes you have to do that because that's how you get the initial eyes, and then you get the luxury of being like, all right, now I kind of have my own thing. But it's cool that both you guys kind of got a following in slightly different ways, but ultimately you guys both rested on like, I got to be me or else what's the point?
Yeah, it's just important. I think that regardless of the views, like Jessica was saying, it has changed so much. The heyday of like that 20 to 2022, that era was crazy. If you decided to become some type of creator at that time, you were seeing crazy numbers, and I remember I'm like, this isn't that good. Why are there so? It's just that so many people were home. There was like everybody was in during lockdown and stuff. And as the algorithm started changing, I started seeing my videos kind of like the engagement going down. Just like Jessica said, that you start kind of thinking personally, like, oh my gosh, do I suck now? Like, am I
people
not
over me?
Am I really not interesting? And
yeah.
And at the end of the day, some people are still watching, even if they don't follow or whatever the case. Like, I'm getting thrown around who knows where in Instagram. Definitely nobody, nobody that follows me sees my stuff. But then I go somewhere like PASIC. And then I get reminded and get all the confirmation that I ever needed when I start seeing all these high school and middle school students going like, are you Skinny George? I'm like, what? Oh, hey man, yeah, what's up? He's like, I made a drum line because of you. I'm like, no, you made a drum line because of you, not because of me, And it's been cool to see that even though the Instagram side of things, or like, what looks like success online, doesn't really equate to what real life, what people are doing with this content. People are still digesting this content, using it, and it's helping people, and that's all I really care about. So it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the things that's good about Instagram being around as long as it has at this point is I think enough people are realizing that they need to have success in real life, or else everyone's famous.
I mean, I think about just like I think about the old videos they used to do in the room, the yellow room, and then with the curtains and all of that.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
I'm throwing it back.
It's amazing, yeah.
And to think about like your latest post was just like, oh, thanks, Asia. I was like,
yeah.
What? It's like, oh, I just hung out in Asia playing in front of like, I don't know, billion people. But that should be the end goal. I mean, I'm not saying that it should always be, but like not everybody's going to turn into like, but I think if you're recording content, you're really passionate about drumming. I started after I was in the drumming world and career and all that. But there has to be some tie to some type of career outside of the little box, outside of the recording. Because I can sit here and play paradiddles at whatever tempo you want, but I still have to lay down a regular old beat for a band or whatnot. And that's where all of that work shows like, oh, wow, this guy's mastered his instrument because he can just lay it down if he has to lay it down. And that's where you get all the experience of all the, like I said, all the chaos of having to do gigs. I'm sure going to Asia was crazy chaotic, trying to figure out all the logistics of like, okay, where are we playing? Can I get you in my monitors? This is a humongous stage. There's only 3 of us. Like, what do we, like?
Yeah.
But you learn so much because you're out of the bedroom and you're out there, and that's success to me for sure.
And I just want to say, like, first of all, thank you for keeping up with my journey these years. I mean, for real, like that's like, I think if 10 years ago I could have had like seen this this conversation, and the fact that there are people that are aware of the different studios I've been in, the way my career's developed, like it really means a lot to me. And it really, hearing it from your perspective, when I zoom out, I feel so incredibly lucky, because that's all I ever wanted. When I initially started posting, it was, I always say this, my page was a digital resume, and my goal was to always be in a band and to play shows and to tour and play live. And if I knew then that I would be going to Asia, and this is my 3rd time with Covet going to Asia in the last couple years, like, that's something people may never get to do in their whole life, is visit other countries. And like, the fact that my music has allowed me these opportunities and has connected me to people like both of you. And it's definitely one of these moments for me where I just have to like express my gratitude, because people watching and interacting, and it's the reason that I'm here on this podcast and the reason that I'm doing all the things that I'm doing. So thank you so much. Seriously, it was just like such a moment for me to hear like your account of like what has taken place over the years.
Well, I mean, when you're in it, so it's hard to kind of appreciate. It's the same thing. Like I record content and whatnot, and it's when someone else tells me their journey through the lens of my content, I'm like, you did what now? Like, wow, oh, you've been around for a long time. Like, you remember that? Oh my gosh. So you heard, like, it's crazy how much information some of these people, like, they just remember, and how much it means to them. So it's just like, wow, okay, it's just a reminder that it is a privilege to be able to do what we get to do,
Absolutely.
Well, and it's funny, going back to the drum thing, I think, Jessica, you enjoy playing way more technical music than I do, and that's beautiful. But the portion of my drumming that has allowed me to travel the world has been the stuff that I probably learned in the first 2 years of my playing. And so I think maybe that's why lately I've been like, what do I want to focus on that actually converts to real, I can pay rent? And unfortunately, at my age, that's where I find inspiration, living in America. And so I think maybe that's why I'm more music oriented, because I'm like, it's the ROI is better if I just really work on how to be a good, solid indie rock drummer, as opposed to, I don't know, but that's my view on all that. I do want to, because we actually have, like I always say, we don't get to many of the questions, but I do want to end on a positive note. Not that we haven't been positive, but I want to start positive. Is what part of your playing are each of you secretly so proud of right now?
Wow, what a question.
Yeah.
All of it.
No, I love that. I'm good at everything, so I guess.
Yeah, everything. It's really hard to pick. Some kind of a trick question here. How do you feel, George? Do you have an answer for that?
I'll say this without sounding extremely narcissistic, okay? Like,
The question kind of is asking you to be a little narcissistic. So just,
yeah.
you're off the hook.
I'll say this. You know, I posted a video of me playing a drum, like an actual drum set, a couple of days ago, a week, I forgot what day it was, because I was testing out this recorder that I got. And man, I listened back to that recording, and I was just like, dang, boy, all right. You know, like, and I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was playing just a regular beat and stuff, but the phrasing, the mix between the hi-hat and the snare, the volume of and it wasn't like that I mixed the audio. The audio just came right. I just put that thing in the middle of the room, and when I heard it back, I was like, man, I worked my butt off to sound like that, you know? Like, I really did. Like, to be that comfortable playing just 2 and 4, like a regular rock beat or whatever. But, like, I was just like, man, it sounds so balanced. It sounds like a record. And I was like, if only, like, a first-year drumming George could hear what your hi-hat mix sounds like now, you know? Like, because I used to bash away at the cymbals and just, like, completely overplay and all that. So if I'm really proud of one thing, I'm proud of how I've been able to adjust to the room that I'm playing in, and not just going like, well, this is how I play, sound guy, you figure it out, and just go for it, you know? It's like, no, I've learned how to really be able to mix myself, which helps the sound guy do his job better too. And so once in a blue moon, when I do get a chance to play at the church where I work at and stuff like that, the sound guy's just like, I can always tell when it's you. And I'm like, wow. To me, that's like, I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it just, the drums sound different. They're the same drums, but you hit them differently. I'm like, that's just because I'm old and I've been doing this for a long time. So anyway, I'm just proud of just what the normal stuff sounds like coming out of me. Because like the chops and all that, you're not going to find it over here. Being a studio drummer that long, they weren't looking for that. So like I never really learned. I had plenty of gospel chop friends of mine. They were just like, come on, George. I'm like, I can't, I can't do it. But just hearing a regular beat feel that good and sound good, I was like, I was proud. I was.
And I would assume that to add on to that, what you mean is you can do that while still sounding like yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I know how to play quieter, but you're like, no, I can still be me at a quieter volume.
Yeah, like I have, because of all the, I guess, the practice pad stuff at all the different dynamic levels, if you don't really apply it, then why are we doing this in the first place? And no, I see it between the ghost notes and the, like, you can just, he's got control over those sticks because all I do is work on control of these, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I do. Mm-hmm. It's good to see the end result of that, you know?
Well, which one did you pick, Jessica?
It's funny. I actually, the more I thought about it, it's not necessarily something that I'm playing a certain way that I'm most proud of right now, but I think something that I take a lot of pride in, especially this kind of just goes in with being in bands and collaborating, and like, I think something I'm growing to be very proud of is being open-minded and crafting the drum parts that people want to hear for their songs, or like being able to be flexible and take feedback. And that's something that, like, I have certain things I like to play, I have certain styles I like to play, but at the end of the day, I want people to feel really comfortable telling me what they want to hear, and being able to take that and really try to create something that makes them happy. Of course, I can, in the context of like someone, wanting me to track drums on their song, or, like even within the bands I'm in, like I might be playing something a certain way and someone wants me to try something differently. Or I take a lot of pride in being able to be flexible and open-minded with how I approach the drums outside of maybe what my first instinct would be. That's something that I've been feeling lately, is being someone that people want to collaborate with and being able to try new things and like get out of my comfort zone with how I approach the drums.
It's great.
I love that, and that's something I would love to work on. When you were talking, it reminded me, literally 4 days ago, I just got back from an Eve 6 little 10-day run, and right before the last show, the guitarist, and he's one of my closest friends, but we were kind of talking about the show afterwards, and we're like, we should maybe work on endings because we've been doing a little bit too many trash can endings, with me kind of going on the toms. And just when he said it, he was just like, yeah, it's kind of getting a little bar bandy, we're just doing too many big things. And in that moment, I got so like quiet in the back of the Sprinter until we got to the hotel room. And I was aware of how much that made me feel tiny. He didn't mean it in any, we were talking like he should have talked. We need to work on endings. We need to make sure. And so it was like all valid, but I was aware of how much that hurt my feelings in him not giving me the slightest. It wasn't even criticism. He was probably talking to Max, who's playing bass, and he's kind of doing more droney stuff. It wasn't just about me, but it really affected me. And I remember, like, by the time we were in the lobby, I was over it and we were joking, but I was like, I'm a piece of shit. It still gets me sometimes. Something will just hit me and it's just like, oh man.
Ugh.
I think too, it's, first of all, like, kind of, this is like backtracking a little bit, but the format of this podcast and being able to just sit with drummers and talk about like all these really relatable things and like getting into more of like the, rather than like just talking about who we're inspired by and everything and what we like to play and our exercises. That's like just getting into the emotional side of things. And like, it's really cool to hear like other drummers telling their vulnerable stories and opening up. So anyway, thank you for hosting this podcast.
Well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to hear, like, because it's like sometimes you don't know how things will hit you, and and it sounds like you're taking that and you're like acknowledging that it has nothing to do with you and that they didn't even mean it in the way that it may have sounded, but it's like it's when it comes to our playing, it can be hard to separate, I'm the one that played the trash can ending, so
that's my number
it's
one
gotta
job.
be me, like they must have a problem with me, so definitely like just being able to say like these people that I'm with, I'm their drummer for a reason. They obviously love your drumming and you as a person, and of course they're only thinking of improving the band as a whole, just practicing getting out of our heads in that way, because like especially on the road, everyone's a little more sensitive too, I think.
Bad diets and bad sleep, absolutely. But I mean, Ben, like I feel like I always tell you this, but every time you say a story like that, it just solidifies why you have the gig, because they could have had that conversation like, we're doing we sound too much like a bar band. You've been like, well, whatever, I'm going to bed, bye, and that's it. But you care that much about the gig. You care about your playing that much. You care about like, well, how could I improve this? Because I'm the trash can guy. Right? Like if he's talking about trash cans, that's because of me. That's messed up. And you care enough to want to like, replay the scene 1,000 times in your head at the back of the Sprinter going, what do I do? That's, oh my gosh, what I am the worst drummer on, you know what I mean? Like, and you just, and you start replaying that, and listen, you're not the only one. I don't know if there's a single musician that isn't their worst critic, like, I mean, I look at videos sometimes, I'm just like, that's not going to work, George. We're not posting that today, it's like, and if I show anybody else, you're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, no, it's not good enough. And that's just, that's the curse of being a creative and always wanting to get to another level. So that's just a great sign to me that you need to be in that band, you need to be on that gig, because better you care enough about that than somebody's going to be so nonchalant, but like, man, whatever, an ending, bro. Let's just keep going. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I guess the main thing, I'm aware of the feelings, and those never go away, but I guess I wish I was better at hiding them, because the guy who was talking, the guitarist, he was driving, so he was kind of focused on the road talking about it. And Max, the lead singer, he could tell I wear my heart on my sleeve, because usually I'm a pretty laughable, smiley dude, and if I'm in my own head, I'm just very much like, just quiet. And it was to the point where he, like, when we got to the lobby, he was like, I think he just meant like, let's just work on endings, like that's what he really meant. And I'm like, damn it, I thought I was hiding it better, because I'm fine now. I don't need people to be like, like, I appreciate you guys saying that, and I hear it, but it's like, I wish in the moment I could still feel that and be like, totally, dude, anyway, so like the Dodgers, and like,
you're right,
but that's my thing I wish I would change. But to go back to the thing I'm proud of, I think I love it when people say I'm fun to watch, because I feel that where I want to get in my drumming career isn't to be someone that every time you close your eyes, you're like, man, every choice he's making on the drums just sounds so musical. I've been hired and consistently kept in bands because I can get the job done playing wise, but I think a lot of times is they're like, it's so fun to have you on stage, because the drummer is kind of if someone, at least in my experience, if they're feeling a little drained and the audience isn't giving it to them, they go to the drummer and they interact, and it's almost like a little refueling station. Then they go back to the front. And I feel that I am that for a lot of, and I've been told that by a lot of people. And so it's almost like my visuals are just as important to me. And we've talked about it with Eric, but specifically live, just the way I move my body, I'm proud that that's something that I worked really hard on and that people acknowledge. And it's for you feeling like it's narcissistic for you to talk about your drumming, George. I feel it's freaking insane that I'm like, I like how I look, you know? But that's probably what's gotten me gigs, probably more so than my drumming. And I'm not saying that in like a defeatist way. I work hard on it. And so, yeah, that's the thing I'm proud of. Whether it's weird or not, I like it.
I mean, no, I don't think it's weird at all. You know what's funny? Oh, man, it's so funny you mentioned that, like the looks thing, because when I used to work at a drum shop for years, and I was a manager there and all that, I hired all of my best friends to work with me. It was great. It was like it was the best and worst decision ever, because I mean, we got no work done, but and we would sit there and we like, hey, we started classifying drummers that we listened to, and it was like there could be drummers that sound good and look good, right? There's drummers that sound good and look terrible when they play. Whatever, there's like all these different combinations, right? So when you can sound good and look good, I mean, come on, like, give me a break. People are gonna be knocking down the door to get you on stage, you know?
And that's the show. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings and reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, so it'll get bigger and better, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'll be an OG listener that can brag to all your friends. Anyways, why don't you go and check us out at bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on all the socials. Just search for Big Fat Snare Drum and you will find us. The show is edited in part using Isotope RX Audio Editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at isotope.com. And thanks again to Gunnar Olsen for the theme music. Bye.
Putting off replacing your window treatments because you think it's complicated? At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years proving it doesn't have to be. And today is your last chance to save big on Spring Black Friday deals. Whether you want to DIY it or have a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we've got you. Free samples, real design experts, and zero pressure. Just help when you need it. Shop up to 45% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure during the Blinds.com Spring Black Friday Last Chance sale. Rules and restrictions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.